Good afternoon, Tommy. How are you doing today?
Never been better is one answer. Surprisingly well is another answer. I also sometimes say I can't be bothered to check anymore, so I don't know. How about you? How are you?
I'm all right. So that's my general answer is I'm all right. I'm good.
Yes,
Yeah.
Larry David in what's his face always says pretty good, which for one of the most successful writers ever and a multi-millionaire and superstar, I should think he should be pretty good, shouldn't he?
Yeah. Another one
So
is
that's a
nothing
good.
to complain about. That's what a lot of
You
people say,
mustn't
don't they?
grumble.
Mustn't
Wouldn't do
grumble.
any good if you did. What have you got for us today?
So I know this might be a bit of a random one. Bear with me. Wallpaper. I know that
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
strange, but I haven't seen a roll of wallpaper or wallpaper on anyone's walls any of my friends, family, my own house has not
No.
1 inch of wallpaper in it. And
Oh,
I'm thinking back to when I was growing up, maybe in the 80s. Obviously, you'll go back a bit further. There was no such thing as a nice, clean white wall, where now all my walls are white or magnolia, shall we say, really. And when I was growing up, the walls were covered in what we called feature walls. And I don't know if you remember that changing rooms program where they used to go into somebody's house, do a big makeover, and it'd be done in like an hour. There was always a feature wall, wasn't there, around the fireplace? I
oh,
don't know,
yes.
enormous flowers, geometric shapes, swirls, stripes, sometimes those patterns that made your eyes go a bit funny. And it was always a thing when I was growing up. Whenever I had my wallpaper done in my bedroom, if it was being like revamped or whatever, I remember my dad huffing and puffing about getting it right in a line. And then if you got it slightly, even an inch out, obviously it just looked hideous. And you would always walk into your friends' houses and you think, wow. And you kind of match the person's personality to their wallpaper, or I did anyway. So every room had its own personality. So the dining room might be a bit darker, and then the living room might be a bit more fancier and might match the curtains. But now I'm thinking to every single room in my house is all off-white or magnolia cream type thing, right? There is no personality whatsoever. And likewise with the carpets, but I know we've done carpets before. But I just wanted to kind of ask you, have you got any wallpaper in your house where you are currently sitting? Not past
Zero.
houses, but current. Zero. Does
Zero.
wallpaper
Zero.
even get made anymore? Are there factories sitting there with rolls of wallpaper that no one wants to buy? I don't know.
I'd be very surprised if there aren't, but I'd also like to meet whoever is buying it and spending a
Yes.
fortune, probably because they have a fortune, to hire somebody else to put it up or several people to put it up because it is a specialist thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever hung wallpaper? No.
I don't think so. I probably assisted or tried to help when I was growing up when my dad was doing decorating, but probably wasn't. I was probably a hindrance more than a help, to be honest.
Here's my wallpapering story. A couple of days after my first son was born, it had been a very traumatic birth, and the hospital said we're going to need to keep mum and baby in for 7 to 10 days. So I went home and I decided to decorate the spare bedroom, which was going to be his.
Yeah.
And so I bought, at great expense, some beautiful laminated embossed wallpaper, which was alphabets. It was against a
nice.
light blue
Yes.
background, and it was the letter A and C and D
Yeah.
and everything like that. But the thing was, you had to match it up so that the two things joined like that and enmeshed. And I didn't know you had to do that. So I thought I'll get clever. I'll measure the wall and then I'll pre-cut the wallpaper according to the height of each wall. And so I went through 150 quid's worth of wallpaper only to discover that it nowhere near matched, and I had to chuck it all away. Yeah. So wallpapering is a skill. And I know I helped a decorator decorate my history teacher's new house. I don't know how that came about.
Yeah.
But he said, well, you have to remember, when you're wallpapering, you wallpaper away from the light. Because that way, if there's anything overlapping, you won't get a slight shadow.
Oh.
See? A lot of
Who'd have
working
thought
people
it
are
was such
very
a
proud
science?
of their...
Yeah.
Huh? Yes.
A
Yes.
science to it.
I've got just one word for you then when it comes to wallpaper. No, 2 words. I just want to see what sort of a look it puts on your face. You ready?
Yep.
Laura Ashley.
I was going to say that. That's on my notepad. That is on my notepad, Laura Ashley, because it's really expensive. Really expensive. When one of my first flats, so this was probably about 25 years ago, was already decorated. We moved in, and there was a wall that was almost perfect, but there was just one line that wasn't great. It was like peeling off. So I contacted the person that we bought the flat from and said, I don't really want to do the whole room. Do you know where you bought the wallpaper from? Because then I might be able to just get one thing. And she said, Laura Ashley. And I was like, you're kidding me. Because that one roll of wallpaper was more expensive, and actually what we ended up doing was doing the whole room in the end, which was a lot cheaper getting it from B&Q than just doing one piece from Laura Ashley. I mean, it was beautiful, but it was like 200 quid for one roll or something like that.
Absolutely. You've reminded me. Do you know what is one of the biggest mistakes people make in life is when they're wallpapering, deciding that they're going to take off the wallpaper that exists, and you get a scraper. And I think you can buy some proprietary preparation thing that you put in a bucket of water and you paint it on and leave it for half an hour, and then allegedly the wallpaper just comes away easily, like butter off a slice of off a cracker. No, it doesn't. You are there for the whole Saturday. You're giving this, and little bits are coming off, slivers are coming off.
Yeah.
And you inevitably end up going, look, why don't we just paper over it, right? If we do a straight line down from here, no one will know that there's another layer of 30-year-old wallpaper underneath it. But deciding to go for it, to do the job properly when you're wallpapering is just a recipe for such, well, I mean, aching arms and endless cups of tea and are we doing the right thing?
Yeah, and half of it going in the bin when you get it wrong. That's the problem as well. And
absolutely,
I was thinking, I remember when I was growing up, my dad never used to take the old stuff off. So when I went from saying like a kid to a teenager and wanted probably to get rid of that alphabet type stuff and then move on to something a bit more what I would call trendy at that time, he never took the old stuff off. And I remember at one point when some of it was coming off, and it does when it gets damp or whatever, there was probably like 10 layers. So the people before us in the house did the same thing, got lazy. There are probably houses out there with 30 layers of wallpaper, which is actually quite interesting because you could probably see through the ages of different designs.
Well, I was going to say,
styles.
It's like the rings on the rings on a tree stump, isn't it? You can see we're going back to medieval times. Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious me.
So no wallpaper. I've got no wallpaper. You've got no wallpaper. I'd be fascinated to hear if there's anyone listening or watching now that still has some wallpaper in their house.
You won't have seen this because you are too young. I have seen it once, certainly for sure, maybe 3 or 4 times. I'm going back here to the 70s. And there was this type of wallpaper which was, it had lumps. It was solid. It had bits sticking out of it. It was not just textured. I mean, some of them were so big you could hang your coat on them. They were always painted cream, or as you put it, magnolia. And I didn't understand them. Because, of course, if you do keep wallpapering, the room gets smaller.
Yeah, it sounds like some kind of game or something, like if you can, like, you know, at the fun fair where you get these rooms that have things on the wall that you have to try and squeeze past. Yes, it was fashions
that came and went. The other fashion was you'd buy this border that would go across the top of the wallpaper, but beneath, and that's because
it was called something. What was that called?
Yes, it
dolly
was. I can't
something.
remember. But it was a cheat because really what you were doing was disguising the fact that you had cut the wallpaper badly. And so the border thing would go across it and just conceal your ineptitude with the wallpapering. Yeah. And in my generation, you always have fond memories of your granddad dressed in his overalls with his flat cap on and his ashtray, necessarily, and a thermos. And all the furniture would be up in the living room, and he would have a trestle table and his bucket of paste and his brush and all the equipment and his roll of wallpaper. But sometimes you used to actually put liner up before the wallpaper.
Oh.
Yeah,
Was that the proper
so
way
that
of doing it? I guess that was
think
the
it is.
yeah.
I've never seen it done, but I know it used to be done. Hayley, that's a brilliant one. I like that. Wallpaper. That is 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10.
11 out of 10. There you go.
Shall I tell you what I've got for you? I don't know what you think of this. Going back in time, things used to break down far more often than they do now, especially cars. They broke down all the time. There was never a morning would go by when you're a kid in bed cursing the fact that you've got to get up and get dressed for school when you would hear coming from somewhere in your road.
I had a choke in my first car. That always used to break. Do you remember the choke thing that you had to pull out?
Yeah.
Gosh.
And you had to get it just right to pick up the engine. So you'd pull the choke out a little bit, give it a and that meant that some of the heavily petrol-gassed vapour would make its way to the carburettor, and then you try again, and it would die. All of that nonsense. It doesn't happen anymore. We don't like to say that things are better than they were, but cars, come on, they're so much better than they used to be.
Is that true, or is it just when you were younger you had rubbish cars because you got the second-hand, the cheapest one you could buy that was bound to break down because of its age and condition? Now, whereas you get older, you can buy better stuff? No, I wonder that, because like my first car was like, it probably wasn't even roadworthy. So it always broke down, but that's because it was the cheapest thing I could find to get the insurance.
Well, you see, there's two ways of looking at this. It's a bit like glass half full, glass half empty. Glass half full is cars are much better than they used to be. Glass half empty is cars used to be much worse than they are now. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just how you present it, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was a Spanish science fiction film I saw in which aliens came to collect humans, and their human trap was a telephone box which had a door, and the victim would go into the telephone box, the door would close behind them, they would discover that the telephone didn't work. Hello? And they'd give up and couldn't get out. And then a lorry would come along and collect all the human specimens that had fallen for this Venus flytrap, okay? And they would never be seen again. But my theory is a much simpler way of doing it is to get a woman who was capable of looking helpless, put her in an ordinary car, have her pull over on the side of the road and put the bonnet up, then go out and smear super glue all over the boot of the car. Because the sight of a young woman with the bonnet up on their car makes all men go over and go, "You all right, love? Do you want a hand?"
That is true. Yeah.
Do you remember seeing that?
Yeah.
And then they would say, "Well, what is it?" She said, "Well, I can't get it to catch." It goes, "Rrr." They said, "Well," and then they'll go, "Have you tried bumping it?" And she'll go, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Well, you get in it, all right, and we'll give you a push. Have it in first gear, but keep the clutch in. And then when we get up some speed, one of us will shout, 'Now!' And then you let the clutch out, and she should pick up." Okay, by this time, you've got 8 guys with their hands on the boot of the car, right? For about 5 minutes, if you can eke it out. And all you do then is just drag them kicking and screaming to the compound where your UFO is, and off you go back to Alpha Centauri. Because cars used to break down. We used to do that. I've pushed cars. I used to enjoy it. It was my good deed for the day. But it was only possible because things used to break down much more often than they do now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking actually, because I remember when I had like cassette players when I was growing up, I used to have to get a new one all the time because the mechanisms broke, the button used to get stuck in, so you couldn't play it or pause it or stop.
Tapes used to come out like that and you couldn't get them back in, and if you did they were twisted, so when it got to that point in the tape, the Beatles would go, "She loved yeah." And then, going back before then, if you're old enough to remember vinyl, that was dreadful because you'd inevitably have the arm with the needle in it go for a walk right across the record, and then you would have a scratch every whatever it was, 1.5 seconds. So it would be "She loved Yeah. I mean, that's just looking at it through the point of view of audio. And
Yeah.
radios, you couldn't get a decent signal. I know that,
Or
that's
or the
different now.
aerial would fall off or get stuck, so you couldn't open it fully. Because I used to have an aerial that I guess like as soon as you knew the age of it was coming to an end, you'd go to pull it up and it would get stuck like halfway, and then you'd have to kind of hold your radio out the window to try and get some kind of a signal.
Get Radio Luxembourg out of your bathroom window.
Yeah.
I did. I used to have to go into the bathroom and hold my transistor. Yeah, exactly. My first job, actually, my very first job, was as a helper. Saturdays I used to do in a repair shop, because you used to get repair shops. I know there's a program now called the Repair Shop, but there aren't repair shops in the high street. And this was a repair shop, and you could bring anything in. And the bloke would go, yeah, I think I might be able to sort that out for you. And out the back, there was all this stuff that he hadn't managed to mend, therefore couldn't charge, and therefore it just piled up. But I do think that things are just more durable nowadays than they used to be. Hinges never used to work. Clasps and clicks never used, things that go click to hold something, that they never used to work. And everything used to go wrong. Toasters and sometimes, because you didn't think you could afford a repair shop, your dad would try and mend it himself. No chance. You're going in the kitchen and there he is. 7:30 at night, Coronation Street started, and he's got his soldering iron out, and you go, no.
My dad used to have one of those Black & Decker work things, like the big table things, Workmates, that's it. And I remember when that used to come out, that meant something was going on.
Something was going on. And toys used to fall apart as well, disappointingly. Almost all your Christmas presents were done, but they were legless, literally, by February. And you were back to your original teddy bear with one eye.
I was going to say, always I used to have lots of teddy bears either with one eye or the kind of the filling coming out. Like you'd get a hole in it in the bottom or something, and then out the bottom all the fluff would come. So it'd be like a very skinny, floppy teddy
sort
bear.
Of fiberglass, wasn't it? It was fiberglassy sort of stuff, dangerous looking.
Yeah. Probably flammable as well, I'm guessing.
Yes, but everything used to go right. I mean, nowadays we've got plastic drain pipes. They're cheap, they're easy, but above all, they don't rust. I mean, I can go back not that far when drain pipes were always filling up with rust and looking hideous, and would you've got to replace that. I'm sorry, you can't paint over that. I mean, I could try. Well, put some preparation on it to halt the spread of the rust, but in the end, you're going to need a whole new set of drains. That's how it was. Materials have improved. Plastics are now so impressive. You look at the plastic on your phone. It's so good. It's so durable. And it never used to be like that. Plastic used to be rubbish.
Yeah.
It would literally wilt in the sun.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I remember I had a few toys actually that if I left them in the garden too long in the summer, I'd go out there and it was like a puddle of
melted
plastic that melted.
Yes. Yeah. Now, do I miss those days when things used to go wrong? There's something about them that I miss, because there's the excitement of turning on whatever it is and it works. Phew. You don't get that anymore. I've never met anybody whose microwave broke on them.
No, I've nearly blown up a few microwaves, but not the one that's broken.
We've all put something into the microwave that we shouldn't.
It's these, sometimes you get these mugs with like gold rims around the top, but it's a really thin layer. And you would think that it's not a thick enough layer of gold, or fake gold paint, I suppose it is. You would think that's minute enough for the microwave to handle that. But trust me, don't do it, because I've done it more than once, accidentally, I must say, where you put it in to like heat up a cup of tea or something, because you do, and then there's like flames. Don't do it.
That may be, and this is a good point to say, draw a line under this, is that the one thing that's left that does still break down and does still need to be repaired is us.
Yeah.
Hayley, it's been great. Enjoyed this one.
Yes. Till next
Talk
time.
soon.